Good morning everyone, Jacques here from Dapper Shaves. In the previous video we had a look at some of the razors in my collection. This ERN specifically had some rust spots around the pivot which I've cleaned out, and also some water stains on the blade face. So the idea is to do some honing. We've got two razors here. I'm likely only going to do one. This is my long-term razor which I want to refresh the edge on. So maybe park this one to the side and we're going to focus on this. I've got a cheap little microscope that clips onto the camera like this, which we're going to use to inspect some edge. I've got an old loom strap here which we're going to be strapping in between. My honing bed for polishing is going to be black Arkansas. We'll have a look at that now. This is an old cigar box which I've modified, wrapped in leather inside and out, put my logo on. This is where I keep my Naguras. So we've got a botan, we have got a tenju, we've got a mohiro, and we've got a coma. These are all Asano certified Naguras. These are just smaller versions of the mohiro and of the botan. So we're going to do a progression of those. Additionally, here's an old cigar box I've got. In here you'll see I've got some of my coticles and stuff. Not everything's in here. We'll select the stone to work from there to set the bevel. And then we'll go to the black arc and the Nagura progression. Additionally, I've got some soap and water in spray bottles so I can clean my working surfaces. So first of all, let's quickly have a look at the edge on the ERN. So fundamentally it should still be looking quite fine. We only used a bit of polish and steel wool on here. Get this to focus. This is not the greatest microscope, but if you spend some time with it, you'll get good images. I just want to see what the edge looks like. Still shiny, no chips in there. So theoretically they should go quite quick. Okay, camera off, scope off. I'm going to be using Vein 4 Lagris cuticle. Let's get a little slurry stone here. That's nicely zoomed out. Okay, so let's get going. I want to sit down. This stone cuts not too bad. Let's maybe just run it just with water to see its auto slurrying capabilities. You'll see slowly some slurry forming, but more noticeably and immediately you will see the cutting power of the stone. I'm using very light pressure, around 120, 130 grams of pressure over and above the razor's weight. Move this out the way. And all I'm doing is I'm just slightly refreshing the bevel. And here I'm feeling for where the stone is abrading, what it felt like the first couple of strokes and how it changes and it develops as I do this. So this stone has got a very soapy texture of it. It's one of the stone's characteristics. It's one of the only coticles that's got this extremely soapy texture to it. Additionally, I'm carefully watching and inspecting how the water cuts over the edge onto the blade face, and as you'll see, it's running nice and smoothly over there. If the bevel wasn't properly set, it would be pushing the water, it would have a wake, it would not be running over the blade face. So that's another key inspection, visual inspection cue for you for where you're going. And that needs to be consistent and across the entire blade edge. So at this point in time, I don't think I'm going to do anything else with this. So at this point in time, I've just cleaned up the bevel. This razor was recently honed, so it's not going to require a lot of work. It's not retopping, but it will be taking hairs effortlessly. So I'm not concerned about the tree topping because we're going to be going through a progression. So up next is the black arc. My stone is finished differently. So one side very fine, about a 1200 grit, and the back side slightly rougher at about 800. Not a big difference, but I use the one side for knives and the other side for razors, and that's why the stones mark like this. So the first thing is to clean off the stone. And then we're going to be going through the Nagura progression. So I don't really need to start with a botan, which is quite coarsish. So I'm gonna skip that. And I'm going to go to the tenju. The tenju is a medium grit stone. So we're going to create a slurry on this. The Arkansas, for those that don't know, is the hardest rock you will find. This black novaculite from Dan, I don't think there's anything naturally harder than this stone-wise. The tenju, this one's quite a hard one. People do soak them in water 5 to 10 minutes before they start. I really don't. I used to. For me, it doesn't make that big of a difference. And I want the stone to be, they say the water softens it up slightly. I'm not sure if that's to make it slurry easier or not. Really no difference to me. You guys can see. And immediately I can feel that the stone behaves totally different to the cuticle, and I can actually feel that I'm hitting the entire bevel, and I can also start feeling that I'm hitting the edge. And the moment I start hitting the edge, you will see the water start flowing over the edge and the blade face. Once again, this is about 100 grams worth of pressure. And I'm looking and I'm feeling what the blade's doing on the stone. That's one of the benefits of using a hard base. It highlights feedback a whole lot better than a softer stone. And at this point in time, here's already a massive amount of stiction forming. If I increase the pressure a bit, like this, maybe you can hear it also. And then if I back off, it does that very fine polishing. So the bevel set, I want to get this now as sharp as possible. So I'm backing off the pressure. You want it smooth. and all we're doing is we're refining the edge. Once again, also looking at the water and how it runs over the edge. On the front side of the blade, here right at the toe, it's not 100% right yet, and you will see the water not flowing over there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work that area specifically, slightly a little bit pressure biased there, not a lot. Just give it a couple of strokes and then come back and clean up. And I can see it's already cutting a whole lot better there. It's not over yet. The water is not running over the edge yet, so maybe just a few more with pressure. And then some light strokes. There it's polishing. And I can see the water running over the edge. So the slight differences between the base stone's surfaces is now gone. It's now adhered to the surface I'm working on. And at this point in time, if we take this razor off and do some strapping, I'm quite sure this razor will start to tree top. You can also palm strap, but obviously I've got gloves on for this video. So at this point in time, we should be tree topping. Which we are. Okay. So that was not tree topping previously. It's across the entire edge. This bevel's been set quite good, so I don't think we're going to need a second run from the tenju. I think we are just going to step onto the mohiro. So I finish on my mohiro. A lot of people prefer or use a coma because it's believed to be finer. I've come to realize that if you find, well, all the Asano Naguras are good, but if you can find one with a bit of striping, orangey color, they cut really good and they leave an incredible edge. It just needs a little bit of work. Let's quickly inspect this edge under the scope and see where we're at. We're 13 minutes into this video. I don't want to try and exceed 25 if possible. Zoom in. So edge is a lot cleaner. The light's not great here, and I can see the tenju scratch marks is slightly coarser. If I get a decent scope and get the light right, I'll show you guys, but this edge is actually quite nice and shiny. So I stopped the video instead of hitting the zoom button, so apologies for that. I'm going to wash off the tenju, and we are going to go up to the mohiro. Here is my mohiro. It's got nice striping in, and this orange redness I'm referring to. If I wet the stone, you'll see it a whole lot more. So this is the side I'm using a lot. It creates a wonderful edge. It's slightly softer, this stone. believe it or not, than the white tenju. But the slurry is obviously of a lighter structure and color. You'll also see this has got a bit of a yellowish tint to it, the slurry, versus the white slurry from the tenju. A lot smoother, a lot silkier. As I say, a hard stone gives you good feedback. I'm going to keep quiet here. Listen how the edge is polished on the stone. At this point in time, I've now reduced pretty much all weight from the razor. It's just a blade edge, and I'll do I think 2 quick progressions with a mohiro strop, and then this razor should be ready to shave. One thing I do encourage a lot when you get to these final stages is learn to hone in hand. You've seen me do this many times, and that is to get a great feel for the pressure and feedback. I'm now doing what we call half strokes. It is not a full-length stroke like this. It's a short 1 to 2 inch stroke, and what that does is it forces you to have a very controlled pressure stroke for the distance you're traveling. You will also feel, I think, depending on how you hone and many other parameters, but you'll feel that these shorter strokes actually cut better than the longer strokes. And the reason for that is that the initial constant pressure when you start the stroke versus when you go longer, it tends to back off. If you come closer towards yourself, your hand needs to do something, and the same if you go further, and generally speaking, that's always a reduction in pressure. Also, what I'm making sure of is again how the water cuts over the blade edge, and I'll do this a bit slower so you guys can see. And it needs to be effortless, this. Also, the slurry structure you would have seen has changed away from orange and has now got a bit more browner because it's got very fine metal particles in there from the polishing. And as you use this and the water content dries out, reduces a bit in the slurry, you will find this razor sticking a lot. So I don't think I'm going to push a second progression on here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of more water, and then we are going to strop this puppy and see how it does. Okay, I'm going to wipe this down. Sorry, you guys can't see. This is just a microfiber cloth, get the water off, remove what's on the edge. I'm stopping with about 100 grams of pressure, and then as I get to the end I'll back off a bit on that. Okay, so we've got a hopefully an edge on there. So what it should be doing now is it should be three topping hairs, and I don't know if you guys can see here. There, off. Off, can you hear and see it? There, off. Now let's turn the hair, I've got long hairs, turn it around so it's root out. Off silently. Off, near silently. Off silently. So as you can see, this is what the shave ready edge should look like and should be behaving. Thank you for your time. See you on the next video.